In early April 2020, the Office of National Statistics reported that 49.2% of UK adults in employment were working from home as a result of the social distancing measures introduced in response to COVID-19. What that figure doesn't cover is the 2 million freelance and gig workers already working remotely. As lockdown commenced in late March, seasoned home workers knew that the rest of the working population was in for a massive shock as they were rapidly mobilised and forced to work from home. What the white-collar commuting majority thought was a cushy number has proved to be a huge shock to their system. If you're a seasoned remote worker, you could be forgiven for your wry smile over the last few months. The familiar joke of, "Are you doing this conference call in your pyjamas?" or "If you work from home, you're a part-timer," attitudes will have thankfully dissolved as quickly as the archaic presenteeism that has haunted too many office-based workers for far too long. And why? Because people have discovered that working from home requires great discipline. There are no water cooler chats or cigarette breaks. Remote workers have been masters of how to utilize their time and how to interact with others over the phone, over video conferencing calls, and have utilized cloud services for some while now. COVID-19 has been the catalyst for digital transformation at lightning speed, dragging a vast number of workers, willingly or not, to be part of the ride. And that ride is a roller coaster. This new way of working is not going to be a temporary fix. We have all been jet-propelled into this new way of life. New remote workers are having to adapt to new technology, new processes, and new ways to interact with clients, business partners, and colleagues to get their work done. The familiar work-from-home employee, freelancer or consultant has also had to adjust. Households have been forced together, fighting over space to establish their new working environment, and in some cases fighting over devices to cater for everyone's needs. And let's not talk about the broadband capacity or the juggling of homeschooling. You would have, quite frankly, had to be living on Mars not to have been impacted in one way or another by this pandemic. But we are resilient creatures, and this new distancing, we can and we will develop new ways of working and new ways of behaving. We can learn and we can adapt. Our attitudes are starting to evolve. So what are the notable differences that we are seeing? First, professionalism. Those ad hoc conversations by your desk or impromptu meetings have vanished overnight. You'll notice that the majority of people now schedule their conversations. They don't tend to call out of the blue. What that allows is more time to prepare ahead of a conversation, which should lead to more productive outcomes and better use of your time and that of your colleagues. You've probably become more disciplined with your time and have planned your days better so that you can accommodate the increased personal demands that have come with lockdown. Whilst we joke about our PJs or our tracksuit, realistically there aren't many people who relish looking dishevelled on the high-definition video calls. We've become more conscious of how we look and how we sound. With the acceptance that this way of working is here to stay comes the motivation to maintain our own levels of professionalism. The second difference is technology. Virtual personal networks, video conferencing platforms, and a plethora of cloud services have enabled organisations to literally plug and play when transforming their operations for remote working. These low-hassle solutions mean that, for the majority, little time has been wasted learning how to use new technology, and we've been able to seamlessly continue with our work. We must make sure that we are adhering to our company's best practice guidelines, especially when it comes to online security. The next difference is management. In the past, some people have resisted remote working, either for themselves or for their employees, as they believed that the home environment would be too distracting and that they'd be unproductive. However, people are discovering that often there are fewer interruptions because they are no longer sitting in an open plan office conversing with colleagues. The lack of a commute has also given many the time back in the day to establish working routines that work best for them and for their family, not just for their employer. And that is crucial as we start to become more in tune with our own well-being, both mentally and physically. The final difference is emotional intelligence. How we handle ourselves and how we interact with others has been thrown into sharper focus. We have become more aware about how we work, how we behave, and through the shared experience, we have become far more aware of our colleagues. Our relationships are changing across the board, and we are becoming more discerning, less judgmental, and more trusting as we all pull together to support one another, our families, and our businesses through this tumultuous period. While we may be more distanced from loved ones and colleagues than ever before, experience shows us there are ways to become more connected, so that we develop a new resilience in our current and post-COVID lives. As we look to manage our personal and working lives better, here are a few points to consider. First, move more. You only need to look at your Fitbit, your Apple Watch, or dare I say it, your waistband, to know that despite being encouraged to get outside and exercise more, we are actually moving less. The lack of a commute, using stairs in the office, not being out and about means that our fitness is decreasing and our weight is rising. It's important to recognise how important our health is and schedule time for the dog walk or for the online yoga session. We all need to take time to take care of ourselves physically. Second, mental robustness. There's been a lot to read about mental health in the press. Remote working and isolation are hard, and that can really take its toll for some of us. We need to be mindful not only of what we say and do, but also find a way to tuning in to our own headspace. Self-care is not selfish, it's crucial. So remember to give yourself the mental downtime needed to recharge and relax. Next, develop new social interactions. You may be managing to join family members for video calls, but also try to bring that more relaxed and personal approach into your work relationships. Arrange work drinks or quizzes via Zoom or Teams. Create new bonding and social experiences in this different world, so that you and others can feel more connected despite the physical distances between you. Become more financially savvy. There is nothing more stressful than money worries. While the pandemic may be outside of our control, regularly reviewing our finances and keeping them in check will remove any further anxiety. And if you are worried about your finances, get some advice from your bank or from an independent financial advisor. Nurture our relationships. While you cannot get up close to family, friends and colleagues, don't shut yourself off from people. We are social creatures and shouldn't neglect this fundamental part of our lives. Stay in touch with the people that matter and try not to marginalise them for work. We need them as much as they need us. And finally, get closer into your community. What we do in and around our community helps to create a different sense of purpose, reciprocity, and willingness to help one another. Being part of something that doesn't entirely revolve around you is good for the soul and for others too.